All right, your assignment for today is to work on this word problems practice. So, trying to take what we've been doing with systems of equations and being able to set these up and solve these with real world problems. I will do number one with you guys, and then the rest of the time today needs to be spent working out the rest of the problems on this assignment. So, on number one, it says Cody's school is selling tickets to a choral performance. On the first day of ticket sales, the school sold 6 adult tickets and 4 child tickets for a total of $74. The school then took in $187 on the second day by selling 13 adult tickets and 12 child tickets. Find the price of an adult ticket and find the price of a child ticket as well. So we have two different things that we're going to try to find. So those are going to be our variables. And then we have two sentences that describe some things that we know about them, and those are going to be our equations. So first thing that would probably be good to write on these would be, what are you trying to find by the end? So for instance, one of the things we need to find is the price of an adult ticket. So maybe we can represent that with the letter A. And then you also need to find the price of a child ticket. So maybe we can represent that with the letter C. So I would start there because it's helpful to understand what we're trying to find by the end of this. Then what I want to do is I want to take those sentences that I see and I want to try to make equations out of the description that we're given. So one of the first sentences says something about how much they took in on day one here. So it says they sold 6 adult tickets and 4 child tickets and made a total of $74. So that right there can be made into an equation, because if I want to know the amount of money that they made off the adult tickets, I would take the number of adult tickets that they sold and I would multiply it by 6, because they sold 6 of them. Or at least I should say I would multiply it by the price of an adult ticket. Same thing with the child tickets as well. If I want to find out what the total amount of money was that they brought in from the child tickets, I would take 4, which is the amount that they sold, times the cost of each one, which is C. And then I would add these two results together. And this is going to give me the total amount of money that they made, which would be 74 in this case. So there's our first equation. And then the second equation is going to be very similar. It's going to come from the next sentence, which says that they made $187 off of 13 adult tickets and 12 child tickets. So again, I would represent 13 adult tickets by saying 13 times the cost of an adult ticket plus 12 times the cost of a child ticket should equal the total that they made that day, which was 187. So this is the jump that we need to be able to make, is taking those descriptions and being able to make equations out of them. And then from here, this will be very similar to what we've done with systems of equations in the past, where I want to solve it using one of our methods. Here, the best way I see to do that is to use elimination and to multiply the top equation by something so that I would have opposite values on the top and bottom equation. And that number that I would want to multiply it by is -3, because if I do that, I would then have negative 12c and positive 12c on the top and on the bottom, which is what I want. So I'll go ahead and multiply that. The new equation would look like this. It would now say negative 18a minus 12c equals 74 times -3. So I'll just type into my calculator, and that would be negative 222. The bottom equation can remain the same, so that when I go to add them, they will have opposite values on the top and on the bottom. So I'm just going to go ahead and rewrite that. And then I'm going to do what we've done in the notes from this point, which is once I have those opposite values, I'm going to treat this like one big addition problem. And I'm going to add all of the like terms together. So when I add negative 18 and positive 13a, I should end up with negative 5a. When I add negative 12c and positive 12c, those two things should cancel each other out. And then when I add negative 222 plus 187, I'll type that into my calculator and I get negative 35. So now I have a much easier equation to solve. So last step is I want to get a by itself, and I can do that by dividing by -5, and I get an answer of a equals +7. And that's good to see that we got a positive number, because that would make sense for the context of this problem. If I got a negative number, that probably meant that I need to go back and check my work a little bit, because I should be finding the price of a ticket should be a positive number. So we found what the price of an adult ticket is, and now we need to find what the price of a child ticket is. Remember, the way that we can always find the next variable is take what you just found and plug it back into one of the equations that you have. So I'll go ahead and actually just choose the one that we started with, because that'll give me the simplest multiplication to deal with. So I'd plug this back into that first equation, which would now say 6 times 7 plus 4c equals 74. 6 times 7 is 42 plus 4c equals 74. And now I'm going to solve for c by subtracting 42 to leave me with 4c equals 32. And then last step here, I would divide by 4, and I would end up with c equals 8. So these would be my final answers here. A equals 7 and c equals 8. It's always good to ask and make sure that your answers make sense, which in this case they do because they're both positive. One reason they might not make sense is because the child ticket actually ends up being more than the adult ticket, which seems a little strange. But that is the answers for these problems here. So rest of the time today, you guys have to work on numbers 2 through 6, and then that assignment will be due on Monday. If you have any questions, feel free to hold on to that, and then you can ask me next week. Have a good day.